Greetings, beautiful people, and happy new moon in Sagittarius. Let's dive into a little bit of what that means. So, let's talk about the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, as a kind of narrative function in the 12 signs of the zodiac, takes us from the more, let's say, material, mundane side of things and expands our awareness into something that's kind of greater than ourselves, greater than our ego, more of a higher self orientation, a connection to the divine. Sagittarius oversees philosophy, theosophy, travel, adventure, expanding beyond our horizons, basically. So when you put the sun and the moon together in Sagittarius, as they are right now as I'm recording this, there's a quality of that part of us that's really highlighted, that's really stimulated. There's a desire to, let's say, travel, learn more, explore, and that might not even involve leaving our own home, but rather going inside, exploring ourselves, our truth. What is our highest possible expression? What is our greatest capacity to show up in this life? The seeds that we plant today are definitely supportive for what we're wanting to make manifest at the next full moon, which is 2 weeks from now, and even more significantly, I think, what we can imagine and dream up for our lives in the next 6 months when the full moon is in Sagittarius. So you can kind of track lunar cycles on those two levels, and I kind of think the latter is more realistic as far as putting things in motion and play at the new moon that we can kind of stage out, build up towards what it is we're manifesting with this energy, what it is we're putting our attention and intention into. And the power of this new moon, given all the content that we either excavated or at least certainly got made aware of during the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, which just went direct about 5 days ago. So we're still in the shadow period of the retrograde, which is to say that Mercury went backwards, well, at least in our visual perception, backwards 13 degrees in Scorpio, or 16 degrees, and now it's going forward, but it's got to go forward through the same degrees of Scorpio that it retrograded back into, which is its own flavor of review. I mean, they say that retrogrades in general are a review, and they are. This is kind of like a review of the review, where, okay, we went through and had to look at a lot of content and material that might not have been comfortable or that we couldn't have predicted. Well, now that we're going through the shadow, it's really about integrating the pieces of what got stirred up, or the different kind of the disparate parts or the fragmentations of our trauma, what's ours to heal. Scorpio is about going into the depths and about healing, and now that we're in Sagittarius, it's about kind of gaining greater perspective on, when I say we, I mean the sun is now in Sagittarius and the new moon is in Sagittarius. We're gaining greater perspective on how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, whether it's judgments, comparisons, those pieces of our human condition, informed by culture, informed by the different traditions that might otherwise have a kind of more binary, black and white orientation, and beginning as Sagittarius does, to see the whole, to see a larger fabric of reality that doesn't make one thing right and another thing wrong, and to begin to accept parts of ourselves that we might have wanted to ignore or shove under the rug. This retrograde brought it up. Different mental patternings, different neural pathways that we've formed and ingrained, that don't have any basis in truth, but are essentially based on trauma or conditioning or these types of things. And we've got a really sweet component of all the different transits that are playing out right now is that Venus transited Jupiter for the last roughly 10 days, and now Venus just went into Capricorn. So what we have in relationship to that shift into the Capricorn energies, and what Venus rules essentially, is what we attract to us, what we find attractive, what we aspire to have in our lives, and the different ways that we can attract that. Well, now that Venus has gone into Capricorn, it can feel a little less playful, and a little bit more work, a little bit more responsibility that we have to take for whatever our situation, whatever our current relationship status, whether we're in one and unhappy, or not in one and unhappy, or in one and happy and not in a relationship and happy. Um, Wherever we are in that spectrum of what we're calling into our lives, not just in romantic relationship, but friendships, our dynamics with our family, our dynamics with ourselves, there's a great opportunity, as I see it, to drop deeper into an awareness of how much we love ourselves is the extensive the I guess how much we can be love another is relative to how much we can love ourselves, or how much we do love ourselves. And Venus is going conjunct Ceres, an asteroid that has to do with our capacity to self-love. And with all this Capricorn energy, and even with Sagittarius, as Jupiter is finishing his 1 year long tenure in Sagittarius and about to go into Capricorn as well, kind of seeing outside of ourselves, outside of our own individual judgments and comparisons and ideas about who we should be or who we think we should be that we're not, and getting into a space of genuinely seeing ourselves and all our reflections, all our relations. In the Native American tradition, they say that aho mitokoyasen, which is, all our relations, that we are all related, that we are all brothers and sisters, and that there's an awareness that what happens to one is actually happening to the whole. And if you look at planet Earth that way, and what's happening on planet Earth, we're not separate, we're not removed, we're not disconnected from what's happening to everyone around the world. And there is I think, an opportunity with all this Capricorn energy to begin to really take on the self-discipline, which essentially is self-love, self-discipline to maintain our equilibrium, our equanimity. How do we be with what's happening on planet Earth? This Scorpio time really surfaced a lot of uncomfortable emotions and a lot of I think, difficult processes of integrating traumatic imprints and historical pieces, not just of our own lives, but of our human genome and what we've perpetuated on this planet. And there's no right or wrong in any of it, but it's genuinely ours to individually find right relation with and be in a good way with. And the reaction or contraction that might naturally get sparked in relationship to seeing what's happening to different to our planet, to our species, to the incredible amount of animals that are currently facing and actually enduring a process of extinction. And the Sagittarius Capricorn flavors that we're now deeply into, with a Scorpio flair for sure, is one of transforming so quickly and seeing beyond ourselves, and really doing, I believe, that the dharmic work necessary. Dharma is basically the function or the method or the purpose that we came here to fulfill within the whole. And knowing what our meaning is, our purpose is something that is of great value to orient our attention towards, and our intentions towards, to either A, finding what that is, or B, devoting ourselves and dedicating ourselves daily to to the manifestation of that, whatever that is. And as we get ready for this solar eclipse on Christmas Day, the 25th of December, and we have Jupiter is going to be conjunct the Sun and Moon in Capricorn on that new moon, which is just a big, huge, potent energy. So it's a great time to take all the material from the Mercury retrograde, find the practices necessary, whether it's healing practices, nutritional practices, physical exercise, service, philanthropy, giving of ourselves. There's great value in finding these these practices that we can implement to remember that it's not about us. It's about the whole. It's about our part in the whole, and rather than focusing on our individual wants, dedicating ourselves to the self-love essential to be so present and so capable of showing up for whatever's arising. And that's whether it's our own personal stuff or what's happening to those around us that we love, and how do we meet that, and how do we meet that with genuine loving kindness and compassion, and meet that with a willingness to say yes and accept without rejecting or judging the other, but rather yes anding whatever their experience, because that allows the energy to move versus getting contracted by our own reactive nature. And I think that's what the Mercury retrograde was really all about, is how do we get into that transformational essence so that we're not orienting the old ways of perceiving reality, but really dropping in to the fullest capacity to transmute, alchemize energy, like to just let it compost. It doesn't actually have to have any hook. We can just see and be with what is and what's arising in others in a way that we don't feed the story. In fact, we allow the story to run its completion because we didn't get hooked in and go off our balance or equilibrium. Last thing, I know this is long, thank you for paying attention to this, it's just that Uranus is opposing Mars right now. So there is a lot of strong impulsive elements at play, and that's not a bad thing. It's just being really mindful of am I behaving consciously or unconsciously, and with that, our ability to actually not act in ways that we have in the past, but see that compassion is revolution. And I think if there's one quote I'll finish it with, it's Carl Jung, who said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So in that, bringing all the unconscious layers that are really burgeoning to the surface to the light, and to our practices, and being in conscious consideration for what we're choosing and what we're aligning our energy with and where we're putting our attention, and knowing that what we think about we bring about, and to feed into the visions that we're living into as opposed to the traumatic past that we've endured, is really a tremendous opportunity right now of taking the material and applying it again and again to what we're living into. I thank you for paying attention. Thank you for enduring this lengthy discourse, and I send you so much love. And you can follow me at Cosmic Attunement on Instagram or on Facebook, and you'll probably get this from Facebook anyway. So thank you, bless you, and just so many happy returns. Aho.